Welcome back to the I Am Click channel. My name is Andrew Boy. From the previous episodes, you would have learned and mastered how to use those presets in your exposure modes. Those like portrait modes, night mode, even landscape modes. Well, they're kind of easy to use and get you stunning pictures, composition-wise. But then you lack very much control on changing the values of your camera to get shots like this, with low F numbers, blurring the background, and then motion blur to show motion with the control of shutter speed. And this is the goal of today's episode. We're gonna go full manual mode and change your aperture values and your shutter speed. Firstly, to do manual exposure mode, make sure that you have your exposure knob here turned to the symbol M. But confuse yourself not with focusing. Your focusing is still on autofocus. You are merely controlling three things on your own now. Firstly, your ISO. Secondly, your aperture values. And thirdly, your shutter speed. Manual mode gives you immense control over your camera's exposure because you now have control on three values. The first one would be your ISO. But instead of changing your ISO, we would suggest that stick it to auto ISO like so, where your camera will help you to determine what ISO to use. That makes life easier for you. Second thing you need to learn to control now is your F value here. Use your aperture knob found on the front of your camera. You can now drop your F value to as low as f2.8. With an F value which is low, you can now blur the background. But if you use higher F value like f16, you can have sharper background. From foreground to the background, everything will appear sharper. The third thing you can control is your shutter speed values. This is at 1/200th of a second. You can now go lower. When you go lower and mount your camera on a tripod like so, you can shoot your photos as low as 1 full second. When you do so, you're going to get motion blur. Or you can use higher shutter speed values. This will surely freeze motion. For instance, on this camera, you can go as high as 1/8000 of a second. But one remark difference when you use your camera on manual mode, you're fully in charge of your exposure now. So you have to keep an eye on this meter bar here, which is your exposure meter. Try not to have it on the negative side. Always try to make sure that it's about 0. Don't go too low either, because you're going to end up making your camera too bright and you're going to get overexposure. Stick it to somewhere about 0. And because you have your camera on auto ISO, it's going to help you a lot there. So how do you shoot in full manual exposure mode? Well, it's the same actually. The only difference now is because you're on full manual exposure, the camera is not helping you in exposure anymore. As you can see, the exposure meter here is very positive, telling you you're overexposed now. Don't click on it now. You got to get your exposure correct. Go into the composition that you like now, like so. Make sure that you can increase the shutter speed until you get the exposure that you like. That's good, which is 0 now. And then don't shoot, but go into the foreground. Press down on the shutter release button. This will help you to attain focus. Hold down the finger here. Do not let go of the shutter release button. Quickly recompose back to the composition that you had your exposure onto 0, and then fully click that down. And that is how you shoot in full exposure mode. More challenging, but you have more control of your photos. The nation's biggest and most successful photo contest is back. And this year, Iskandar Investment Berhad has successfully held it for 4 years. I Am Click 2017 is the best so far, if you ask me, because I Am Click this year is a photo marathon. Don't miss out. 2nd of December, total prizes to be won. Head on to this website now. Sign up. Don't miss it.